doing my preparation for Henry V.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to break a YouTube rule right now. In the first 4 seconds, you're supposed to deliver the thing that the audience just clicked on, which was Henry V. I'm going to interrupt and tell you what I learned making this vlog. When I shot this vlog, it was impromptu, it was the way I like to do it, and I did not realize two things. I did not realize how long it is. This is pretty full length, as you just saw before you clicked. I didn't realize how complete it actually is either. And I spent the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, trying to figure out how to shoot things that would fill in all the gaps that I thought were there. I made an outline on my whiteboard right over here. I'm going to show it to you. Over here with this Henry V vlog, and here is this idea over here, and I was like, had arrows down here, we erased this arrow, found a new way to get over to this idea, way overdid it, and let me just throw this back on here. And then when I put it into the computer, I found out I can't make it any better. It's not perfect, but it's not something that I could make better by any of that stuff. And so I want you to know, if you're somebody who's tempted to overdo things, your work is never underdone. It's just rare. And if people don't like rare, they have no taste. You don't need to worry what they think. All right, here's the vlog.
And I've thought about how in my last vlog, I talked about having no plan. It's interesting that that's in Doctor Who. Doesn't it just scare you to death? And ever since the Battle of Agincourt, where 5,000 sick, tired, on foot Englishmen triumphed over 20,000, 30,000 French cavalry. Ever since this battle, maybe even before that, it has been part of the English mythos that we do better when we're outnumbered. I mean, we, English-speaking people, it is coded into our grammar that this is the language of the knights who kept the heathen Saxons out to defend their land and their faith. It is also the language of the later Saxons, now anglicized, now grafted into Arthur's legacy, who resisted the Normans. And finally, it is also the language of the Normans who defended the Isles from other enemies. To think that this is a feature of being a British citizen and not a feature of speaking the language is to underestimate the importance of language. Obviously, this attitude comes to us in our language. It is why Americans resisted the Redcoats the way that they did. Ironic. This brings us back around to Doctor Who, the most British of TV shows. He's a man who has no plan but does what is right, and it works out. And this is somewhat of a Christian narrative. It is very much of an English narrative. It is a virtuous narrative. I'm not saying only English speakers think this way, but it is distinctive of the English-speaking world. So if you are American, you have inherited the English story, which is a story of defending our island, doing what is right because you have vowed to do so. It is a story of keeping out invaders, but it's also a story of a melting pot. The Saxon Robin Hood and his Saxon merry men take the same vow that British King Arthur and knights took. It is a story of government by the people, varying degrees at various times. You inherited the story of the first country to abolish slavery. That's why America was the second one. It was a little harder. It was a little tougher to do. America was more stubborn about it. But the abolition of slavery, it could not last in this inherited English story. And I'm not saying the English heritage is all good. I'm saying you have inherited it. And you know the bad stuff, most likely. Educate yourself. Know what the bad stuff is, but let's not forget the good stuff and the good narrative. So I'll be teaching Henry V here soon. We'll be discussing from a historical perspective. Did Henry V have a right to claim those lands in France? Was it right for him to fight a war to get them? Or did he just want money and power? We'll talk about those things as history. It's good to have that discussion. We also want to talk about the good story. In Shakespeare's play, they believe that what they are doing is right. We don't need to tear that down with any historical facts. We can say in history maybe they had whatever motives. In the play, they are doing what they believe is right, and this is what we should act like in our own struggles, whether or not the real Henry V did. This is how somebody should act. I want to read this part to you.
What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? Nay, my cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's peace, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires, but if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's will, I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me, for the best hope I have. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company, that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that outlives this day and sees old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, but all shall be forgot, yet he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Salisbury and Talbot, Warwick and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son. And Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day till the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentle men in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, while any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
And see, it doesn't matter if the actual King Henry fought with France for a noble reason or not. The good man should teach his son this story, because this is a story that makes good men.
Wish not a man from England. God's... A weird hiccup happened all at once. Okay, we're gonna try this one more time.